Good morning, America, and welcome to Wykj 96.6 FM with Micah and Mika in the morning.
Today we will be talking about something I am currently interested in, which is the current state of affairs in Japan.
Is there a reason for taking the time to specifically talk about Japan, other than it being Other Country Awareness Month, Mika?
Yes, there is, Mike. In fact, the reason for talking about Japan specifically is because I visited there just recently to see some of my distant relatives. While I was there, I noticed a lot of different things about the country and wanted to share my experience with the audience, if that's all right.
Well, as per the usual, at this point, why don't we start with giving a brief modern history of the country we're talking about this morning.
Alright then, if you're a young viewer or for some reason skipped all history classes pertaining to Japan during your years in the school system, then you need to know that during World War II, America occupied it briefly and helped it set up a provisional government. That government is now run much like how England runs their government, with having a prime minister and the Japanese version of parliament known as the Diet. The Diet has two houses of legislative government, like the US, called the House of Representatives and the House of Councilors.
So that's their government in a nutshell. What's politics like over there?
Well, from the 60s to the 80s, the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP for short, was in control. The LDP is known to be conservative on the political spectrum and is still to this day the most dominant party in this country.
So what's the economy like over there?
After the Second World War, Japan went through a long period of industrial work and had a chance to catch up economically due to not really having to maintain some of the key government function of Japan, since the US was still occupying it. However, recently Japan has taken quite a few hits, economically speaking. From 2008 forward, Japan has 3 recessions. Obviously, the first was in correlation with America's recession in the late 2000s. Most of us still remember that. After this recession, Japan was recovering economically, but they were hit with another one that the world heard about due to the cause of it. In 2011, Japan was hit with a 9.0 earthquake. As if this wasn't bad enough, a tsunami occurred due to the earthquake. And these natural disasters combined caused the nuclear reactors in Japan not to overload or explode, but to fail. And the area surrounding the plants became very dangerous for a time due to the threat of radiation poisoning. Since the economy has bounced back to a degree, in 2013, Japan entered the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This was extremely good for them as they are an export economy, and the pact opened up new venues for exporting goods to other countries.
The next part, which is the social and cultural aspect of Japan, is something I actually want to cover, if that's okay, Mika.
Go ahead, Mike. I'll jump in if anything doesn't sound right.
Awesome. So the reason I wanted to jump in on this is because over the past couple of years, I have actually become a pretty avid anime fan and really gotten into the culture of it.
Oh geez, you're not gonna just blab about dudes fighting with giant robots for half an hour, are you?
Relax. The anime thing is just a segue into the other cultural stuff. If you watch enough anime, you start to pick up on some of the cultural references and how society works over there. For instance, in Japan, the culture is pretty hierarchical. It's very obvious, in fact, with something like how usually 4 generations of a family live in one household. It's kind of weird, but it's how they do it in Japan over there. You'll also notice in anime, and actually in Japan as well if you visit over there, that there aren't very many people from different countries in that country.
You're definitely not wrong there. In fact, only about 1.5% of the population are foreigners.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, more or less, Japan is very isolated from the rest of the world, both physically and socially.
That's really weird considering that their economy is pretty much completely export-based.
You're not wrong. However, they seem to be less and less isolated with the diffusion of culture happening.
Whoa there, partner. You're gonna have to be a bit more specific than that.
Well, it's like you mentioned earlier. You watch anime, right?
Well, yeah.
Just like you watch anime, Japanese people watch cartoons.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. You're saying that we each share our cultures with each other.
You got it, Mike. In fact, in some countries, the culture isn't just diffusing, it's blending.
Really, how so?
Well, to go off your whole anime thing, consider the question that so many anime fans debate over daily. Subs or dubs?
Dubs forever. Suck it, nerds.
Exactly. You like dubbed anime because it's more suited to our culture, and the voices sound like Americans. People who argue for subbed anime do so because they believe They convey the anime the way it was originally meant to be interpreted.
While I respect sub-watchers, they still suck.
Understandable. However, the information vehicle that is anime brings up another idea: cultural homogenization.
Okay, I know what culture is, and I know what sort of homogenization is, but what do they mean together?
Well, in simple terms, it means culture becoming one big entity, as opposed to a bunch of little ones. But to better understand this, we need to understand globalization.
Whoa there, Mika. Are you getting philosophical on me?
Yes. Yes, I am. Philosophical Time says me, the queen of philosophy.
Yare yare.
Don't you say good grief in Japanese at me, mister. We're talking about this right here, right now.
Alright, I guess. So, as you were saying, globalization?
Globalization. First, the official definition, then the simplified one. As a process leading to greater interdependence and mutual awareness, reflexivity, among economic, political, and social units in the world, and among actors in general.
So, in layman's terms?
The world is becoming more interconnected.
Gotcha.
So, globalization. It's got its perks and downsides. Well, right now it's affecting Japan like that, with positives and negatives.
Well, let's jump right in.
Alright, well, for one, United States ideals are spreading to Japan, and I know how that sounds, making everything Americanized, but in this case, it really is kind of good. Japan's culture has a lot of dark sides to it. One being suicide being almost socially acceptable, another being sex discrimination in the workplace. Hopefully, with Japan seeing how things are run in countries like America or another country, this will help them push for more civil rights and for creating a society that, for one, can effectively produce babies.
Wait, what?
In Japan, there is currently a crisis where Japanese people are not repopulating enough to replace their own population, which is a huge social, economic, and obviously cultural issue.
Well, what's causing this?
Well, the main issue is actually in the workplace.
How so?
In Japan, working hard is actually ingrained in the culture. People are expected to work 12 hours days and also go out for drinks after work. And if you're going to say, why don't they just not go out for drinks? Well, the answer is because they will be shunned among their co-workers.
Geez, that's intense.
Yep.
So, basically the reason that the population is currently decreasing is because people are working too hard?
Yeah. They don't make enough time to meet other people and instead have to do what people at the company they work at want them to do, which leads to a ton of other social issues like widespread depression and other bad things.
Yare yare.
Alright, I'll let you have that one.
So, what should we take away from this, Mika?
I'd say that if Japan does not address many of its social constructs that are currently hindering the country, that it's heading for massive economic decline.
But that isn't to say there isn't hope, right?
Yeah, like I said, other countries are spreading to Japan, which means new ideas and new ways of thinking as well.
Well, I think now's a good time to start playing the music again. Thank you all for listening, and tune in later for Mike and Mika's Midday Marathon.